You're watching the Manny Fraser Show, where men over 40 learn how to lose fat, build muscle, and dominate life without wasting time on BS. What's up? So today is a deadlift day. Looking forward to it. I just wanted to get on here and start talking earlier for my mic'd up series. Just talking with the intention of sleep and recovery and why it's important, especially if you are a lifter, anyone. So sleep and recovery is a very important thing because it's one of the biggest predicates for testosterone and muscle growth. It's how you recover. So like what you do in the gym really matters. But if you're not recovering, it doesn't matter. Like if you're not getting good sleep, you're only going to be as strong as that sleep you get. And so I think I talked about this before, where I noticed that my sleep was off because lately we've been weaning my son off of the golden milk known as breast milk. And he's been off of it now for about 3 weeks, almost a month. And so the major goal that we had was just to get him off of it, which means that requires me to really play defense at night, because that's what really happens. And so that's what we've been doing. So my sleep has been really off because my son would wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I want to watch Lego Batman, or I want to watch this. And it's like, oh my God, bro, go to sleep. So that's really been throwing off my sleep for the last little bit. And I know during the mock meet, that was one of the things that threw me off. Another thing would be getting your mental focus, your mental in. I know that during the mock meet, I wasn't as mentally checked in as past in other meets. Like I was thinking about like the meet 9 for 9, and I'm like, what was the difference between that meet and like the last couple of years? And I would say I was incredibly locked in during that meet, like really focused. And I think that's a big part in terms of, I know it's a big part in terms of the sport. Whoa, he just started running across. That's a really big part in terms of the sport, because if you can't focus, what will end up happening is you'll be stuck in this world where you're just thinking about a bunch of things. So anyways, that was, I think, back to sleep and recovery. I think the biggest thing when it comes down to sleep and recovery is making sure that you're getting enough sleep. So here's what I do to get enough sleep, okay? And you could either take this from me or you don't, it doesn't matter. So what I do to get enough sleep is, before I go to sleep, I measure how much time I need. So like I wake up based off of the time that I need to sleep. So I wake up at 7 every morning, and so that means if I want 7 hours of sleep, I need to be in bed by 12. If I want 8 hours of sleep, I need to be in bed by 11. So generally for me, what I do, last night I was in bed by 12, so I had 7 hours of sleep. But before, I was running around doing a bunch of errands, doing a bunch of stuff in the night, cleaning. And so I realized, okay, so what I'm gonna do is I do red light therapy every night. That's another key to my recovery, which I've been doing that and been sitting in a chair with red light on me. It's been quite good. I don't know, it's pretty, I'm curious to see how it will affect my results, but I have noticed that my recovery's been good lately with that. So I try and do that almost every night, and just sitting at a red light for anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour of just red light. I feel like Superman in the sun, just like soaking up the rays. Anyways, so when you're looking at sleep, so back to sleep again, have a sleep routine. So like, what's your sleep routine? What is it that you do on a regular daily basis? I just gave you mine. So mine is, I'll clean up. Right now it's clean up, sit down, read a book or listen to a podcast or something like that, and have some red light on. That is my sleep routine. And my goal is to be in bed by 11 or 12 o'clock, depending on the time. That's the time I want to wake up. I want to wake up every day at 7. So depending if I want 7 hours or 8 hours. My sleep, so in terms of how I feel by the time I go to sleep, I generally feel tired. And that is known as, not sleep deprivation, the word, it's called sleep. Oh man, I want to call it like a sleep debt. So when your body has been out not sleeping for a very long time, so like the length of time between sleep is big, it's what's known as sleep debt. So sleep debt is literally when your body builds up that sleep and you just really want to fall asleep. So your eyes start going down, you start feeling drowsy, you start yawning more. And that's something that by the time 11 and 12 o'clock at night, I generally feel that. And when I lay my head down, I go to sleep. So next you're going to catch me, I'm going to be doing my warm-up for my deadlift, my mental prep for my deadlift. I can't remember how heavy I'm going. I have it all written down, so I don't have to think about it. I just know it's a deadlift day. It's going to be fun. Looking forward for you to join me. catch you on the deadlift. All right, oh, here for another mic'd up series, and today I'm working on the deadlift. You guys were in the car with me this morning, heard my mentality and things I'm going through. Now that I'm finally lifting, I got my deadlift bar here, and my main goal here is to make sure that every rep appears the same. So let's get started. We're going to do a 45-pound bar. It's kind of warming things up. Want to see how things feel. It's a good chance to try hook grip. Oh, nothing really sore, nothing out of the ordinary, which is good. Main goal that I have right now, I'm going to be working up to 455 for 5 sets of 3. I work at 455 for a set of 1, and then 5 sets of 3 at 455. All right, let's load this thing up. So I generally wear a sweater in the beginning because I like to warm up via sweat. I find that it warms up more my body when I wear a sweater. All right, so this is going to be 135 for a set of 5. So I want every rep to be the same as I do it. So let's put this in the center. So I imagine myself walking up, looking at the bar. Deep breath. I'm doing that on the platform. All right, I'll catch you guys. I'm gonna go up to, probably put this back on when I get to 455. All right, so we got 5 sets of 3 now. Work my way up here, 455. So the reason why the weights are important, I generally do, in terms of like programming, I'll do my 1 rep max, and then I'll do 90%. So I base it off of 90% of my 1 rep max, that's my training max. And then what I'll do is I will do sub-maximal training from there. So it's all sub-maximal. So it's like, what's your max? Your training max is whatever it is that you've been able, whatever your max is, your 1 rep max. Because of the fact you don't want to burn yourself out, especially if they're over 40, like I want to say doing that much repetition over and over again. When I was younger, I mean, we used to do like max effort deadlifts every week, right? Train up to like 405, 455, 500. And I remember stalling at 500 for the longest time and not thinking, I'm like, oh, I got 500, hey, I'm the strongest person around. But then not realizing that there's more and it's like heavier. And I think like when you become a strength athlete, you generally want to start chasing after heavier and heavier loads. And you start working on the little things. I want to say for the most part, the biggest mindset that I have, or the biggest mindset shift, would be like focusing on like just lift it. Like it's not too complicated. Lift the weight. All right, so I'm gonna do 5 sets of 3. Let me get this done before I waste my time. I forgot to turn my Apple Watch on. Do some traditional strength training. I like monitoring this stuff because it is a good cue of like, oh, I'm doing this. But also like working with clients and seeing like, all right, like what are you utilizing this for? So generally most clients will utilize an Apple Watch to measure how much they're lifting, but it's also good for them to see you lift. All right, so let's do this. We're gonna do a quick, there we go. We're gonna do a quick one here. 5 sets of 3, let's go. All right, well, it's fun. Doesn't get easier. I mean, it's all heavy at this point. I'll come back in a second and answer a question. All right, so how do I manage fatigue when I'm in a heavy training cycle? So one of the ways that I manage fatigue is, I make sure that I program, I periodize for it. And I personally do think the periodization, like I generally plan out my programming for a year in advance, and I just follow it. So 1, it systemizes my training. That way there's no sort of like guesswork. Showing up, I know what I'm doing. And 2 is that it allows me not to get injured. And I find a lot of people get injured, a lot of powerlifters get injured because of the fact that they don't program. They're like, I'm gonna do a 1 rep max today. Why am I doing a 1 rep max, right? So most times everything's programmed out for the year, which really helps me. The other thing that really helps me is like sleep and recovery. So like I make sure that I manage my sleep, which especially is very important in terms of this training cycle. I eat like a lifter. So like right now, I'm probably managing roughly about, I want to say 25 to 3,000 calories. So the only thing I'm trying to do right now is up my output by doing more walking, cardio to keep my weight relatively same. So I don't want to go too heavy. I'm carrying myself 10 pounds over from when I want to compete at. Competing at 242, so about 110 kilos at the WRPF. So there are a couple records there at the 110 that I want to get, and I will get them. I just have to make sure I walk in at 241. So I really got to manage my weight and make sure I'm not carrying myself too heavy. So as it gets closer to competition, I'm dropping weight, but I'm also getting stronger. It's possible to, because the real thing I'm trying to drop is not just weight, I'm trying to drop fat. Because particularly the thing I'm looking at isn't so much how much weight I am, it's how much body fat I'm taking on. Because the more fat that I take on, while it's great for weight, it's not that good for muscle mass. So I want to keep my muscle mass high while bringing my fat mass down. All right, let's do this. Let's do another set. Actually, I'm gonna finish this up. I'm gonna do 5 sets of 3. Quickly do this. Oh man, it's actually supposed to be 430. So training max, not supposed to be 455. I'm actually gonna drop this down to 430, and that way I can get this done. I'm gonna do this on an EMOM. I'm gonna speed this up now, so it's 4 sets at an EMOM. Catch you in a bit. All right, let's answer another question. So, what do nationals mean to me personally? So for me, nationals are working really hard at this powerlifting for a while. I think I've been powerlifting, like, so if you go back into like where I started powerlifting, it was in prison, right? And I remember my first day in, I remember just working out, finding a routine, and really just working towards the routine of like getting used to getting by every day. I remember when I first got in, I used to, the classic, put the dates on the wall. Horrible thing, especially when you're spending a lot of years inside. So I remember by the time I got sent to the institution that was going to be my institution for a bit, and the first day in, found the gym, started working out, and didn't stop working out for the 4 years I was in. So you can imagine 4 years of just being inside and working out every single day, you're going to end up being like, okay, this is what I do. So when I got out, it was very easy. But when I was inside, we got into like heavy lifting. So we'd work up to like 1 rep max, and then do widow makers. I've talked about this before in other videos, but then, and every day we were testing. So like it was cool because let's just keep pushing myself. At the time, I didn't know about what powerlifting was. I knew about strongman, and I knew about Olympic weightlifting, bodybuilding, but never saw a power lifter. So it wasn't until I got out that when I started lifting heavy, I started hearing about this powerlifting thing. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I mean, I never did it until I remember it was Chris Fudge. I was at a nutrition course with him, and he's a trainer out in Ottawa. Great guy. Go listen to his stuff. He's amazing, smart, genius. And I remember I was into powerlifting, into lifting heavy, and then he was like, did a powerlifting course, and he was like, well, if you're into powerlifting, the only thing you can do at this point is just try it out, compete. But then at that point, you'll know what it's like, and you'll see if you like it. So I competed my first meet, Victory Barbell, and ever since then I've been hooked. And I mean, I've always been hooked, but like ever since then I've hooked at competing, like not just lifting heavy for the sake of lifting heavy, but lifting heavy for the sake of competing. All right, so let me get this set in. It's a front squat. It sucks. I work this is 3 sets of 3. It's going to be at 325. So let's get this ready. So I'm going to use the bar. So, all right. So the reason why I implemented the front squat back into my program is because I want to squat twice a week, deadlift twice a week, and then bench twice a week. So this is my secondary squat. So I'm either doing tempo or front squat. So with the 3 sets of 3, I'll do front. But I'll catch you when I get to the 325s. All right, so next thing you gotta talk about in terms of it is the biggest mistake that beginners make on deadlifts. So I think the biggest mistake that beginners generally make on deadlifts is they don't take their time pulling the weight. So because the deadlift's one of those moves that is, it can be a grip and rip. A lot of people end up working on the grip and rip part, but they don't work on the technique part. And I'd say the technique part is understanding the hinge. Most people squat their deadlifts, and so they have this bad form that's coming from RDLs. So a lot of people have RDLs in their program, especially in their leg day, but they don't know how to do a conventional deadlift. So I'd say most people squat their conventional deadlift. The other big mistake that a lot of people do is with the sumo lifters is that instead of doing a sumo lift, they do like a sumo squat, or they're hinging their sumo. And so like the one thing about sumo that is really big is that your main goal is to push your knees out over toes and keeping your back as erect as possible. So I'd say those are the two big mistakes that lifters do, especially in the beginning when they're learning how to deadlift. This is why I would always suggest that someone gets a coach. The reason why I'd say get a coach is because the coach is going to be able to have an extra set of eyes about what's happening. I always laugh when people say, well, you know, I don't need a personal trainer, I'm good. And it's like, I don't think you understand what personal trainers do. I don't think most people think understand what personal trainers do. Most people think personal trainer, and it's still that biggest loser type of mentality where I don't need to lose weight, therefore I don't need a personal trainer. But personal trainer, what the idea of personal training is when it comes down to like being able to do anything physical, like fitness wise, the personal trainer trains you to get there, period. So whatever it is that your goal is, physical or fitness, that trainer is equipped to be able to help you get to that goal faster than you're on your own, period. Right? So like you can get rid of online programming, you can get rid of all that stuff. I mean, that stuff is cool, and that is something that personal trainers can do, which is program design to make sure that the program matches like what your goals are. But the reality is what a personal trainer will do is they will monitor you from beginning to end to make sure that you get to your goals on time and efficiently, better than on your own, period. Like having a second set of eyes will help you get to your results faster. Duh. And for some people, it is the way, it's the accountability factor. And then for some people, it's the educational factor that helps them. All right, so for this one, I got 3 sets of 3. This is 325 pounds. This should be fun. All right, let's go. Oh, this is heavy. Oh, I definitely need to check my depth with that one. That did not feel well. All right, next question, and then I'm gonna do 2 more sets and then go to leg press. So one of the ways that I stay disciplined this far out from competition, I mean, 9 weeks out from a competition, I guess for me, it comes down to like understanding that I think about like a highway. When you're running a program, you have, think about the highway. I think the program or whatever you're trying to get to is the destination, and the program's like the highway that you're going to take. And so some highways are congested, like a 401 in Toronto. If you are not from Toronto, I highly suggest you look up the 401. It's probably one of the worst highways in North America. 8 lanes, and it takes at least 1 to 2 hours to get through the entire city of Toronto just by 401. It's just always so busy. And then I would say having the right program is a bypass to messing up or not knowing what to do. So like the way I stay motivated is by focusing on the actions that I gotta take and realizing that every day that I do some sort of work, it's gonna help me in the long run in terms of where I wanna go. I mean, the reality is that you just gotta lift it, right? You just gotta do the job, do the thing, do the hard thing. And I find that this is hard enough. It's like doing the hard thing really helps. All right, I'm gonna do this set now. Oh, I'll catch you up at leg press. Okay. So we got some leg press right now. So the reason why I like the leg press is because the leg press for me is, I want to say it's like the pulling motion, or pushing motion in the deadlift. So like I like the leg press. I like to play leg press now because I realize it more now that the one thing I try to do is I'm trying to push the ground down, and that pushing the ground down is the same thing that you're doing on a leg press. So I like it because of that. So it mimics the same thing I'm trying to do in my bottom of my deadlift, which is push the ground down and do. So I'm doing a heavy leg press. This is 640 pounds. 630 pounds. So I'm doing it for 3 sets of 3, just to kind of work around myself being able to push a lot of weight, especially when I get into pull a lot of weight, especially when I get into my heavy deadlifts. All right, so let's do this. All right. I want my feet to be the same as they would be in my well, that's just fun. All right, I'll catch you guys with my RDLs. I'll talk more about that there. All right, now one more set here. So when you're looking at the leg press, I want to utilize my legs being at the same side, like the same size or same width as when I jump into my deadlift. So what I look at is put my feet down, and it's the same type of setup. Vertical shin, hips, right? Chest up, right? Grabbing on the handles. And then once you do that, big air, and they're loaded. And now straight up. 2. And that's it. All right, I'll catch you back at RDLs. All right, so we got a B stand squat. It's supposed to be an RDL, B stand squat, B stands RDL. It was supposed to be just a barbell RDL, but I decided to turn into B stance. I don't feel like getting another barbell out. Because I added the front squat in, I'd rather not put as much load on my back like that. So I'm going to utilize this heavy kettlebell. It's a 48 kilogram kettlebell. This is actually the kettlebell that you would do the Sinister with. Definitely fun. All right, so we're gonna do 3 sets of 10 on each side, then I'm gonna take a question. All right, let's go. So what I wanna do in terms of it, I'm utilizing, there's contralateral, ipsilateral. I like to do a contralateral, it means opposite side from the side I'm working. So if I'm working to this side, right, I want the weight to be on the opposite side of this, of the leg that's straight. The reason why I want to be is because what I want to happen, when you do ipsilateral is the same side, I have knock knees, and these kind of sit together, right? Well, not knock knees, I guess. But they're pretty good. Some people, their knees go inward. Some people are like that, bow-legged. So because my knees are, they're somewhat knocked. They're less than 2 centimeters, less than 2 fingers apart. I want to utilize contralateral for the sake of my adductors. All right, so what I want to do with this, first show off some quad, then bring my foot on, I want the horn to be on the inside of my foot, right at this point. Sorry, don't know the term. I'm gonna put it here, find it and put it there, but that's where I want it. So from this point here, I want to drop my hips back and then pulling up. Wait. Pull. 8, 9. Oh. To the other side. I guess I'm gonna put it there. All right. So. 2. 8. That sucks. Okay, so let's talk about why I program RDLs and back extensions into my programming. I think, like, for instance, like B-stance RDLs or barbell or whatever RDL, like, you're still working on the hinge pattern. And so your main goal in a deadlift is that hinge. You want to be able to utilize the glutes. For a lot of people, like I said, the number one issue a lot of people have is they squat the deadlift. And because they squat their deadlift, they're going to have that problem that their glute activation doesn't work, low back is tight. and it's all because of the fact that they squat their deadlifts. So I work on the hinge pattern to really emphasize my glutes, my posterior chain activation in my deadlift, and by that point, when I activate glutes, then I'm more likely to resort to that when I'm trying to pull my max weight. All right, so I got this. I got one more exercise after this. It's gonna be hanging leg raises. I'll catch you up there and then we'll end it up there, okay? All right, let's wrap it up. So, how do I balance being a dad and then also trainer, prepping for nationals, trainer, fitness manager? I think the biggest way in terms of balancing all of it is that it's time boxing. So like I train where I work. Once I leave here, I go home and I'm a dad. I gotta put my son to sleep. So this is gonna go out there as well. My wife's in her first trimester of our 5th baby. So definitely a wild, you know, right? Wow, this one's wild because at the end of the day, I look at it, it's like, wow, we're having our 5th baby, and there's more to that story. You know, say it at one point, but definitely balancing everything. It's a lot more now because then when I get home, I gotta clean. And because at the end of the day, like when you're in your first trimester, anyone you guys had a wife at home who's pregnant, generally at that point, there's a lot of sleeping and a lot of resting, and for granted reasons, for safe reasons, obviously, but it's definitely a lot of throwing up and a lot of things that you got to work on with that. So balancing comes into time boxing and getting stuff done when it needs to be done. What keeps me motivated after 15 years of training? I'd say the thing that keeps me motivated after 15 years of training is just being the best out of myself, right? Like you never get quite to the point where you're like, I'm done, I've done it, I've accomplished, and I think I'll continue rising because every single age brings a different thing that I got to work on, or I think different gap that I have to be able to overcome. So if I was to give my younger self one piece of advice as a lifter, I would say, and I always say this, I wish that someone took me when I was younger, 16, 17, and showed me powerlifting, because I look at powerlifting now as something that's really helped me, but like I wish I found it earlier, because I probably wouldn't have ended up with all the same stuff that I got into, but it definitely hindered my growth. But I would say start earlier. Like I get my kids to do kettlebells. They have a little barbell at home they do deal with. But I get them familiar with lifting, because then when it comes down to it, when they're really serious, they'll be able to do it and they'll be interested in it. But I know for me, it was something that I wish I got into way earlier, because it's helped me a lot in terms of coping with a lot of parts of my life. Another thing would be take your time. I mean, I think a lot of people get into, I see this right now with a lot of guys, they want to get to their prime stage in their youngest years, and they do whatever it takes. So they hop on some sauce and skip a few steps. Don't do it. Just figure out how to, like, patience game. Like, I'm around for a long time, not a fun time. My goal is to be around when I have young little ones, and my little ones have little ones, and I want to be there for that. All right, so let's do some, so what we got right now is we're gonna do some, I'm gonna do knee raises, and then we're gonna wrap it up here. So let's go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like I was hanging from a cliff. All right, I'll catch you on the next one. Make sure you subscribe if you like what I have to talk about. Share with a friend, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like, drop a comment. What's your number one struggle that you're dealing with right now? Powerlifting, weight loss, whatever it is, being a dad. I'm here for it all. All right, peace. If this hit you hard like it should, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and watch the next video. Don't just get fit, get powerful.